Hi everyone! Today we're exploring a genre that has chilled and thrilled us for decades, survival horror. But this isn't just about jump scares or creepy monsters. Today we'll embark on an in-depth exploration of ecopsychology and its intersection with the survival horror genre. This is a journey that will explore the dark, intertwined relationship between the mind and the environments that surround us, whether it's haunted villages, abandoned castles, or fog-shrouded towns. We'll cover iconic games like Fatal Frame, Haunting Ground, Rule of Rose, and others that have shaped the landscape of survival horror, and along the way we'll discover how engaging with these games can offer unique psychological and emotional benefits. This is not just a study of fear, it's a journey to understand how survival horror games help us reconnect with the natural world, confront our fears, and build resilience. It's also probably my favorite genre, so there's that. The concept of survival horror is as old as human fear itself. Since the dawn of time, we've used stories to make sense of the unknown, to explore what scares us in the dark. Before the advent of video games, we had folk tales, gothic literature, and horror films that spoke to our deepest fears, often involving nature itself as a source of mystery, beauty, and terror. In survival horror, our fears are often brought to life by environments that are beyond our control: sprawling mansions, eerie villages, deep woods, and decaying towns. These games take what is familiar and twist it, making it alien. The environments in survival horror act as a character, not just a backdrop. They reflect the ecopsychological premise that our environment is deeply interconnected with our psyche. The fear these settings evoke is a direct reflection of our disconnection from a balanced, harmonious relationship with nature and others. Before we begin dissecting individual titles, let's talk about ecopsychology. Ecopsychology is the study of the relationship between human beings and the rest of the natural world, emphasizing how reconnecting with nature can be crucial for our well-being and the well-being of the planet. In the context of survival horror, this relationship is often twisted and strained, showing how environments become sources of danger when the connection is broken or corrupted. Survival horror games put us into environments that mirror the psychological disconnection many of us experience in the real world. And by experiencing these environments, by navigating their dangers, understanding their mysteries, we may actually be taking steps to mend our own relationship with the natural world. Through facing our fears in these immersive spaces, we can find insights into our own lives. Let's head into our first game, Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame is a series that masterfully blends Japanese folklore with the horror of environmental disconnection. In Fatal Frame, the environment isn't just a setting, it's a living, breathing entity filled with restless spirits and bound by ritual and tradition. The Lost Village in Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly, for instance, is haunted by the memories of past trauma, echoes of rituals that went wrong, leaving spirits tethered to the land. The village itself embodies a disconnection from nature. Once a thriving community that respected its spiritual roots, Minakami Village becomes a cursed, ghostly realm as its inhabitants try to control forces beyond their understanding. The rituals meant to maintain harmony instead lead to disharmony and suffering. The fog and the dense forest surrounding the village are not merely aesthetic choices. They symbolize the separation between the village and the outside world, as well as the villagers' disconnection from the natural cycles of life and death. But there's a beauty in the sadness of this environment. Playing through Fatal Frame, one is forced to see the beauty that persists, even in a haunted, dangerous world, something we often overlook in our real lives when nature becomes distant or fearful. The game's attention to traditional Japanese architecture, to the craftsmanship of the shrines, and to the use of natural sounds like wind rustling through the trees makes it a quiet reflection on the balance between beauty and horror. One potential benefit of engaging with Fatal Frame is that it encourages us to confront loss, grief, and unresolved trauma in a setting that is removed from our own, yet deeply symbolic. The idea of confronting ghosts with the camera obscura serves as a metaphor for how we might confront our past, by capturing it in a tangible way, understanding it, and ultimately finding a way to let it go. The game's environments, rooted in traditional rural settings, serve as a reminder of the spiritual and psychological value of staying connected to our roots, both literal and metaphorical. The experience of navigating a haunted village can help them process fears associated with isolation and the unknown. The fog-covered paths and abandoned shrines reflect a kind of melancholy beauty that can remind us of the value of facing fear head-on. Not to overcome it in a brute force manner, but to understand and accept it as a part of the natural order. Next, we move on to Haunting Ground, a game that offers a fascinating exploration of vulnerability and survival in an ecopsychological context. Fiona, the protagonist, finds herself in a sprawling castle after a car accident, an environment filled with danger, pursuit, and twisted intentions. The castle and haunting ground is a strange, almost organic environment. It has the Gothic grandeur of old European architecture, but it also feels disorienting, like a living thing that shifts and changes as Fiona is hunted. This lack of predictability in the castle's layout plays on Fiona's vulnerability, making her feel small, lost, and at the mercy of her surroundings. It's an environment that defies Fiona's control, reflecting the fear of losing one's autonomy in the face of a threatening world. The game also introduces Huey, the German shepherd who becomes Fiona's ally. Huey is an important symbol. He represents the ecopsychological theme of connection with the natural world and interspecies empathy. In a hostile environment where human interaction is either absent or dangerous, Fiona's bond with Huey becomes a symbol of hope, a tether to something beyond the human. The trust they build is not just a gameplay mechanic, it's an emotional anchor that provides Fiona with the courage to continue. Playing Haunting Ground has the potential to teach players about the importance of forming connections in hostile environments. The partnership between Fiona and Huey is a reminder of how non-human companions can offer emotional support and help us regain a sense of empowerment. This kind of experience can encourage players to reflect on the relationships they have in their own lives, particularly with pets or other non-human entities, and how these relationships can help them navigate fear and uncertainty. The game also touches on the idea of reclaiming spaces that feel hostile. As Fiona makes her way through the castle, she gradually learns to navigate it better, finding safe places and understanding its layout. It mirrors our own experience of coming to terms with an intimidating environment, whether that's an unfamiliar city, a challenging workplace, or even a mental state. By slowly gaining mastery over her surroundings, Fiona and the player learns that even the most hostile places can become manageable through patience, understanding, and trust. Next, we enter the tragic world of Rule of Rose, a game that initially takes place in an abandoned airship governed by children. This setting is a nightmarish representation of lost innocence where nature is absent and cruelty reigns supreme. Jennifer, the protagonist, must navigate this surreal and frightening world guided only by Brown, her loyal dog. The airship is a profoundly unnatural environment, representing a severance from the natural world. It's a place adrift, both literally and metaphorically, disconnected from the earth, from nurturing forces, and from any sense of comfort or safety. The children who inhabit this space have created their own rules, their own hierarchy, and their own twisted understanding of the world. It's a representation of what happens when we lose our grounding in nature, when the order and nurturing qualities are replaced by the chaotic whims of human cruelty. The presence of Brown, Jennifer's canine companion, is another example of the importance of non-human relationships. In a world where humans cannot be trusted, where innocence has been corrupted, Brown is a source of unwavering loyalty and love. This bond represents the ecopsychological need for connection, even in the face of overwhelming darkness. Rule of Rose offers players an opportunity to explore themes of loss, abandonment, and the struggle to find comfort in a world that feels alien and hostile. The game encourages players to reflect on their own experiences of feeling disconnected, from nature, from others, or even from themselves. Brown's loyalty serves as a reminder that connection is always possible, even in the darkest of places, and that nature is often where we can find solace when human connections fail us. The simple act of Brown following Jennifer, of being there without judgment, represents the pure, nurturing relationship that we all crave. A relationship that can help us face even the most terrifying of environments. The game also provides an opportunity for players to confront the impact of trauma on one's sense of self and environment. The airship, with its twisted, labyrinthine corridors and surreal, nightmarish imagery, serves as a metaphor for Jennifer's fractured psyche, a place that is difficult to navigate, constantly shifting, and filled with hostile memories. The player's journey through this psychological space can mirror their own attempts to make sense of psychological chaos, suggesting that even the most overwhelming fears can be understood if approached with courage, patience, and compassion. The Resident Evil franchise takes a slightly different approach to survival horror by bringing biotechnology, corporate greed, and ecological destruction to the forefront. While other games explore the supernatural or the psychological, Resident Evil often focuses on humanity's destructive impact on nature and the repercussions of that impact. In Resident Evil, nature is corrupted by human intervention, specifically by the Umbrella Corporation's experiments. The environment, whether it's the Spencer Mansion, the underground labs, or Raccoon City itself, is a manifestation of humanity's need to dominate and manipulate nature. The monsters that roam these environments, zombies, mutated plants, genetically altered creatures, are all byproducts of humanity's desire to control life itself, and the resulting horror is a direct consequence of this disconnect from natural boundaries. The environment in Resident Evil is hostile because it has been altered beyond recognition. The forests surrounding the Spencer Mansion are filled with infected dogs and mutated plants, and Raccoon City's urban sprawl becomes a battleground between the natural and the unnatural. These settings are filled with contrasts, natural elements corrupted by human experimentation, reflecting the dangers of attempting to control forces that we do not fully understand. Engaging with Resident Evil can help players confront their own anxieties about the environment and humanity's impact on it. By exploring these corrupted environments, players are forced to face the consequences of exploitation and disregard for nature. The experience serves as a reminder of the importance of respecting the world and the dangers of trying to exert control over it without understanding full ramifications. Additionally, Resident Evil can be seen as a form of catharsis, a way for players to channel their anxieties about environmental destruction, pandemics, and corporate greed into an experience where they have some level of control. In real life, we often feel powerless in the face of global crises like climate change or ecological collapse. But in the world of Resident Evil, players have the opportunity to fight back, to take action, and to make a difference, even if it is within a fictional setting. The physical act of moving through environments in Resident Evil, searching for resources, solving puzzles, and confronting monsters also provides a sense of agency in a chaotic world. This mirrors our own desire to find solutions, to adapt, and to survive in an ever-changing and often threatening environment. We now turn our attention to Silent Hill, perhaps the most iconic and psychologically complex survival horror series. In Silent Hill, the town itself is a living representation of the characters' fears, traumas, and guilt. The environment shifts between the fog-shrouded streets of the town and the nightmarish, industrial otherworld, a space filled with rust, decay, and grotesque creatures that embody the protagonist's deepest fears. In Silent Hill 2, the town acts as a mirror to James Sunderland's psychological turmoil. The fog that envelops the town represents the uncertainty of James's own memories, his inability or unwillingness to see the truth clearly. Nature in Silent Hill is corrupted, shrouded in fog, and disconnected from the comforting aspects we usually associate with it. The lake, the forested outskirts, and the town's parks are all present, but they are devoid of warmth or life. They are eerie, empty, and unsettling. The shift between the real world and the other world is a powerful representation of the dual nature of the human psyche, how our own darkness can distort our perception of the world around us. The environment changes as James moves closer to confronting his own guilt, becoming increasingly twisted and dangerous. The industrial, decaying aesthetic of the otherworld serves as a metaphor for the psychological and emotional decay that results from repressing trauma and refusing to acknowledge one's own culpability. The Silent Hill series offers players a unique opportunity to explore their own fears and anxieties in a controlled environment. The fog-covered town, with its empty streets and eerie silence, creates a space that encourages introspection. Players must confront their own discomfort with uncertainty, with not knowing what lies ahead or what's lurking in the shadows. This experience can help build resilience to ambiguity and fear, offering players a safe space to engage with these emotions. The themes of guilt and redemption in Silent Hill also provide an opportunity for emotional processing. By experiencing James's journey, players can reflect on their own experiences of regret, guilt, and the desire for forgiveness. The monsters in Silent Hill, which are often symbolic representations of the protagonist's fears and desires, serve as a reminder that our psychological demons are part of us, but that facing them, rather than running from them, is the only way to move forward. The environment of Silent Hill, with its shifting, fog-covered streets, encourages players to explore at their own pace, to take in the atmosphere, and to become comfortable with the unsettling. This kind of engagement can be a powerful way to build tolerance for discomfort and to learn to find a sense of calm, even in unfamiliar or frightening situations. Next, let's explore Amnesia: The Dark Descent, a game that redefined the survival horror genre by emphasizing vulnerability and the fear of the unknown. In Amnesia, players take on the role of Daniel, who awakens in a dark, sprawling castle with no memory of how he got there. The environment is oppressive, filled with dark hallways, strange machinery, and a pervasive sense of dread. The castle in Amnesia is an environment that reflects Daniel's fragmented mind. The dark corridors and the strange organic growths that seem to pulse and spread throughout the castle are physical manifestations of Daniel's own confusion and fear. The natural elements, water, light, fire, are all present, but they are corrupted, twisting into something dangerous. The castle is a place that feels alive, but in a deeply unsettling way. The darkness in Amnesia is not just an obstacle, it's a character in its own right. It represents the unknown, the parts of Daniel's mind that he has repressed, and the fears that he must face in order to regain his memories. Light, on the other hand, is a precious resource, something that provides comfort and safety but is always in short supply. This dynamic creates a constant tension between fear and hope, darkness and light, and it serves as a powerful metaphor for the struggle to confront one's own darkness. Playing Amnesia can help players build resilience to fear, especially fear of the dark and the unknown. The game encourages players to explore the dark, unfamiliar spaces, to confront their fear of what they cannot see, and to find ways to adapt to an environment that is constantly shifting and changing. This kind of experience can be incredibly empowering, offering players a chance to fully embrace their own agency in a world that seems determined to strip it away. The use of light and darkness in Amnesia also encourages players to think about the role of hope in their own lives. The simple act of lighting a torch or finding a source of light can provide a moment of relief, a small victory in the face of overwhelming odds. This mirrors our own experience of finding hope in difficult situations, of seeking out the small comforts that help us navigate the bigger fears and uncertainties. So, we've journeyed through haunted villages, crumbling castles, fog-shrouded towns, and dark, labyrinthine spaces, all environments that reflect the complex relationship between humans and the natural or unnatural world. These environments are not just backdrops, they are integral to the horror experience, shaping the narrative and the psychological journey of the characters and players alike. The natural world, when twisted and corrupted, becomes a source of fear and vulnerability, but it also serves as a reminder of what has been lost, a connection to something larger, something nurturing and life-giving. In these games, nature is often a character in and of its own, embodying the consequences of human action, the dangers of disconnection, and the potential for redemption and growth. Engaging with survival horror games can have surprising ecopsychological benefits. By navigating these dark, unsettling environments, players are given the opportunity to confront their fears in a controlled, safe setting. This kind of experience can help build emotional resilience, teaching players to face discomfort, uncertainty, and even terror without giving in to panic or avoidance. The practice of confronting fear directly, even in a virtual space, can translate into real-world benefits, helping players become more adaptable and resourceful in the face of stressful situations. One of the most profound ecopsychological benefits of survival horror is the opportunity it provides to confront fear on a symbolic level. In games like Fatal Frame, Haunting Ground, Rule of Rose, Silent Hill, and Amnesia, players must enter dark, dangerous environments that represent their characters' deepest fears. In real life, our instinct is often to avoid what scares us, but these games reward exploration, curiosity, and a willingness to delve into the face of the unknown. By doing so, players learn to engage with fear rather than avoid it. The act of stepping into the darkness or pushing forward despite the dread helps cultivate courage. In many ways, these games act as a form of exposure therapy, allowing players to experience fear in a safe space and gradually build up a tolerance to it. This kind of engagement can help players become more comfortable with uncertainty and better equipped to face real-life fears, whether they're related to social situations, career changes, or the complexities of modern life. Another key ecopsychological theme in survival horror is the importance placed on non-human relationships, particularly with animals. Both Haunting Ground and Rule of Rose use animal companions to create a sense of connection and trust in environments that are otherwise overwhelmingly hostile. Huey in Haunting Ground and Brown in Rule of Rose are not just pets, they're symbols of loyalty, trust, and the natural world. They act as a reminder of the grounding power of nature, of how connection to non-human entities can provide a sense of stability and support in our darkest times. The bond between Fiona and Huey or Jennifer and Brown represents the healing potential of connection, something that players may be able to apply to their own relationships, whether it's with animals, plants, or with the people in their lives. This element of the survival horror experience highlights the therapeutic value of spending time with animals or out in nature. Studies have shown that spending time with animals can reduce stress and anxiety, and these games in their own way remind us of the importance of these connections. For players, seeing how Fiona and Jennifer rely on their dog companions may inspire them to seek similar connections in their own lives, to appreciate the unconditional love and loyalty that animals can provide, and to find comfort in their kinship and presence. Survival horror games are also about reclaiming a sense of agency in environments that are inherently threatening. The settings are designed to make players feel vulnerable. These places are filled with danger, uncertainty, and often a deep sense of malevolence. But as players progress throughout these games, they gradually learn to navigate the environments, to find safety, to understand the threats, and to overcome them. This journey from vulnerability to empowerment is a core aspect of the survival horror experience. The feeling of being lost, overwhelmed, or out of control is something that many of us can relate to in our daily lives. Survival horror games provide a way to practice resilience, to learn how to assess a situation, gather resources, and find a way forward. This process of reclaiming control or becoming familiar with and mastering a hostile environment can have profound ecopsychological benefits, giving players a sense of accomplishment and the belief that they can overcome difficult challenges. Another significant aspect of survival horror is the theme of ecological horror, especially evident in games like Resident Evil. In these games, the environment itself has been corrupted. Nature is out of balance, and the consequences are terrifying. Whether it's the T-virus turning people and animals into zombies, or the plague of parasites taking over an entire village, these games reflect our collective fears about the impact of human actions on the natural world. Engaging with these themes can be a way for players to process their own anxieties about environmental issues. Climate change, pollution, habitat destruction, these are all very real fears that many of us carry. Survival horror games that deal with ecological destruction provide a way to confront those fears in a symbolic context. They remind us of the consequences of our actions, but also empower us to fight back, to take a stand, and to make a difference. In a world where the news is often filled with stories of environmental collapse, survival horror offers a way to channel those fears into action. The act of confronting mutated creatures, navigating contaminated environments, and ultimately overcoming these challenges can serve as a metaphor for the real-world efforts needed to address ecological issues. It's a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, there is value in perseverance and hope. Survival horror games offer insights into how environments can affect our emotions and psychological well-being. The environments in these games are carefully crafted to evoke a range of emotions: fear, unease, dread, but also moments of beauty, tranquility, and hope. The fog in Silent Hill, the hauntingly beautiful shrines in Fatal Frame, the oppressive castle in Haunting Ground. Each of these environments affect the player's emotional state in a different way. These games highlight the importance of environment in emotional regulation. The oppressive, decaying environments can evoke feelings of unease and fear, but the moments of beauty, sunlight streaming through a broken window, a quiet moment in a garden, the companionship of an animal, offer a sense of relief and comfort. By navigating these environments, players learn to manage their emotions, to find moments of calm in the midst of chaos, and to appreciate the beauty that can be found even in the eeriest of places. Another eco-psychological benefit of survival horror is the opportunity to learn from nature's ambiguity. The environments in these games are not black and white. They are filled with mystery, uncertainty, and ambiguity. The fog in Silent Hill, the shifting halls of the castle in Amnesia, the hidden secrets of the Spencer Mansion, all of these environments challenge players to embrace uncertainty, to explore the unknown, and to find meaning in what is not immediately understood. In real life, we often seek certainty. We want clear answers, straightforward paths, and predictable outcomes. But nature is not always predictable. It is complex, ambiguous, and full of mysteries. Survival horror games, by placing players in environments that are filled with uncertainty, encourage them to become comfortable with ambiguity, to explore without knowing what lies ahead, and to find value in the journey itself. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of the eco-psychological themes of survival horror. These games do far more than just scare us. They challenge us to confront our fears, to explore the unknown, and to reconnect with the natural world in ways that are both profound and thought-provoking. They remind us that fear is not something to be avoided, but something to be understood, explored, and ultimately embraced. Survival horror is not just about monsters or haunted houses. It's about the environments we navigate, the fears we confront, and the connections we make along the way. It's about understanding the delicate balance of nature and our place within it, about recognizing the impact of our actions, and about finding hope and resilience even in the face of overwhelming odds. If you enjoyed this exploration of survival horror, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What's your favorite survival horror game, and how did its environment affect your experience? Did it make you reflect on your own fears, or perhaps on your relationship with the world around you? I'd love to hear your insights. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and remember, even in the darkest places, there's beauty to be found and courage to be gained.